All right, guys, welcome back to Everything College Football Podcast. Today, me and Nick here at our preview and prediction for the Guaranteed Rate Bowl between Rutgers and Kansas State. Going down in Phoenix, Arizona, in Chase Field, home of the Diamondbacks, December 26th, the day after Christmas, Thursday afternoon at 5:30 p.m. 15 halves the total. Wildcats are 7-point favorites. Getting things started with this Rutgers offense, 27.9 points per game. This group's been significantly better than we envisioned it would be. Ethan Kaliakmanis has came over, and he's been a really good passer for them. 55% comp rate isn't all that good. 205 yards, though, 17 touchdowns, only 6 picks. He's been a competitive player when it comes to throwing the football. He's got a solid trio here, too. Dymere Miller, he's going to be playing in this game, 731 yards and 57 receptions. 571 and 38 grabs for Ian Strong, and then KJ Duff, freshman, third on the team in all those categories. I mean, this has been a respectable passing attack, Nick, a lot better. Again, we thought that they would be going up against the defense that hasn't been as desirable against the pass this year. 224 yards per game allowed, 19 touchdowns, only snagged 9 interceptions. I mean, this is a good group overall. But throughout the year, they've had their issues. And I think Rutgers can certainly take advantage of some of those opportunities here against the secondary. What do you make of this, especially if top running back Kyle Mongai isn't out? It's going to be a pass-heavy attack.
Is going to be a passing attack. Right now, as of right now, we do not know Mongai's status. He did travel with the team. He is out with the team in Arizona. The decision is still going. They're discussing it. We'll see if he plays. Obviously, he's an incredibly talented back for this team that has led the way on the ground, a guy that's been incredible. 1,300 yards rushing, 5 yards per attempt, 13 scores for him, also 14 grabs. Passing attack has been really good. Kaliakmanis, I didn't know what he's going to look like when they plugged him in. He's been phenomenal. He is returning for this team as well next year. 2,500 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, 6 picks, 54% comp rate, obviously a bit weak. But in general, he's playing really good football and accurate at times passer, a player that's really solid at getting decent yards. Also, a decent weapon with his legs. He's been solid at times, 233 yards rushing, about 3 yards per carry, and 3 scores for him. I do like what they can do. This is a passing attack that has some solid pieces. Miller, Ian Strong are both really solid, 500 plus for them. 5 touchdowns for Strong, 4 for Miller. KJ Duff and Chris Long are not bad assets either. While the number 2 back for this team, Antoine Raymond, has been banged up, fighting some injuries. Not sure on his status as well. He has 5 touchdowns as the number 2 back. I like what I can see out of this offense. This offense is looking a lot better than previous Rutgers offenses. 27.9 points per game is a ridiculous number for a Rutgers offense, quite frankly. Been really happy with their production on the field so far this year.
Yeah, you want to go up against a secondary that has some nice players. Marquise Siegel, VJ Payne have been pretty good for them. Keenan Garber, Jacob Parrish, veteran corners out there. So I think it'll be a fun, competitive matchup in that regard. You also have a great offensive line. They don't allow too many sacks and pass protection going up against a team that's able to generate some sacks. Brendan Mott mostly with 8.5. Other than that, it's sporadic production from everybody. Desmond Purnell leads what's a pretty good linebacking core alongside Austin Romaine and Austin Moore. Romaine leads the way by far of 89 tackles, 6.5 TFL as well. So this is a Kansas State defense that they've kind of disappointed me this year. They haven't been great, 22 points per game. Thought they'd be a lot better than what they've given up. 115 yards per game on the ground. Over the back half of the year, they've allowed 100 plus rushing, 120 plus rushing, that is, in every single game. Going up against respectable opponents, too, teams that can run the football well. So they haven't been horrid, but it hasn't been great at all if Mongai can't get the go. I'm really not sure what they're going to do in the backfield. Looks like Antoine Raymond will be the top running back. He's gotten a lot of touches over the last 2 months of the year. Had 2 touchdowns as a season finale against Michigan State. So they're not going to completely get overwhelmed here, Nick. I think this Rutgers offense can overall be competitive in this game. They don't have many explosive plays. You can see it there. Only 117th nationally in 20-plus yard plays this season. So that's not great. And again, Kansas State hasn't allowed 200 yards on the ground yet. So this could be a very one-dimensional attack. If they can't be explosive, it might be hard for them to finish drives and put points on the board.
Certainly, if they struggle with explosive plays, it could be an issue. Mott's a really good player coming off the edge. The defensive player, 12 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks for him. Desmond Purnell at linebacker has been solid as well, 44 total tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. Good numbers there. Toby Osunui has been solid as well for this team, 18 total tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. Decent production there. Overall, not producing a whole lot of sacks. A really good offensive line for this Rutgers team. They're a very physical unit. They create good blocks, really good pathways for the running lanes. A solid unit overall that's leading the way for this offense that's playing good football. The secondary has been a bit shaky at times for this Kansas State team. but they're also really good against the run, which can certainly help their case. 21st ranked run defense. They're playing really good football. Hasn't given up a whole lot of yards. Not great in takeaways. Not producing a whole lot of turnovers, which is certainly something you want to keep an eye on. I do like Austin Romaine at linebacker. 89 total tackles for him and 7 tackles for loss, 2 pass breakups. A do-it-all kind of guy, good leader on this defense. This defense has been productive at times, but also struggling at some points. Overall, you were hoping more out of this defense. This offense is exceeding expectations, but they are missing some key pieces potentially. So a very interesting X's and O's matchup being drawn here in this bowl game.
Now we move to the other side of things, the Kansas State offense against the Scarlet Knight defense. You start with the KSU quarterback Avery Johnson. It's been a pretty lackluster debut season for him. 9 interceptions, 22 touchdowns through the air. Those are good numbers, 2,500 yards. He's had 200-plus passing in all but 5 games this year, but no 300-yard games. He's gotten close, once. Other than that, though, this has just not been a very efficient attack. It just kept getting worse over the year. Under 60% on the season. Wasn't very good against Iowa State in terms of efficiency. He does put touchdowns on the board. That's important. And he has some nice pass catchers here like Jace Brown, Keegan Johnson, Garrett Oakley at tight end. He's going to have to see some improved targets. Trey Spivey as well. This is just a Kansas State team whose passing attack does not really have much of a ceiling, Nick. This quarterback at times really hurt him, especially early on in the season against BYU. He was terrible. As the year got on, though, he was better. He did have 4 picks and 2 back-to-back losses, 2 each against Houston and Arizona State, games that they were competitive in. They didn't get blown out in, but they've dropped 3 of the last 4 games because this offense has not been great. What do you think they're going to be able to do here against a Rutgers defense that at times was pretty poor this year? I know they had a lot of injuries. Seems like they kind of figure things out a little bit more towards the end of the year. Really, their offense did a lot of the heavy lifting. But this isn't a great defense they're facing here in Rutgers. And I'll get the list of players who look like they will be playing for you. But overall, what is this matchup? Who are you leaning with, I guess I could say, in terms of the pass and the football?
It's certainly interesting for this Kansas State passing attack. Avery Johnson is a good player, but not having the best season through the air. Obviously, a lot of room for him to grow. About 6% comp rate, 2,500 yards passing, 22 touchdowns, 9 picks. Very similar stats to Kalkamakis, a little bit better completion percentage, similar touchdowns to interception ratio and yards. Very similar quarterback play out of the 2 quarterbacks so far this season. Jace Brown's been solid for his team, 763 and 5 scores for him. While Garrett Oakley, the tight end's gotten a lot of red zone targets, 4 touchdowns, 220 receiving yards for him. Some decent numbers there. Braden Lofton, another tight end that has 2 touchdowns for this team. Been of a bit shaky offense. They're not scoring as many points. You'd hope they were below 30 points per game. And obviously, we'll talk about some other key pieces on the offense that will be missing for this team in a second. Keegan Johnson, a guy that you would hope to see a lot of targets for as well. 359 and 1 score for him. A guy that you're hoping to get some more out of him throughout this offense. Can this offense succeed here against a banged-up Rutgers defense? I think it's certainly possible. They have some solid pieces, although they've played a little bit weak at times this year. Rutgers playing down a couple of key pieces could be an advantage for Kansas State.
It does look like Keegan Johnson. Well, he's in the portal. Doesn't look like he'll be playing in this one. Carver Willis, starting right tackle, is a very impressive player. Won't be playing either. And then DJ Giddens, of course, he's not going to get the go. He's opting out. He's going to the NFL. It's a lot of production they're replacing. But Johnson, he's been a really good runner, 548 and 6 scores. And then Dylan Edwards didn't get anywhere close to the amount of touches I thought he would this year. Didn't top over 10 carries once this season. It's going to be his backfield, though. So he's going to get a lot of work, and I think he'll do pretty good in this game against a run defense. Give up, almost 150 yards per game, 23 touchdowns on the year. So it's not the greatest of run defense. In terms of who'll be playing, it looks like Malcolm Ray will be. Tyree Powell looks like he wants to get the go. Robert Longerbeam at corner, still his status is up in the air. And then a good defensive tackle in Conte Hamilton, Shaquan Loyal, Flip Dixon, the 2 safeties who've been very good this year. There's a lot of opt-out possibilities here for Rutgers. But it looks like most of those guys I ripped off on the defense will be trying to play in this contest, which is certainly good. It's a pretty good unit when they're at full strength. And then against the pass, 234 yards per game. So they've certainly struggled, but these are good corners, good defensive backs, the guys I just ripped off. Only 7 picks on the year as a team. This should be a fun matchup, though, Nick. This is a team that only has 20 sacks, though. They don't really generate many turnovers, and this is an offensive line that's great. Even without that right tackle, I certainly still want to favor them, especially when it comes to running the football.
I apologize for missing that for Johnson. Keaton Johnson will not be playing. I missed that on my report. A guy that's still talented, so that's certainly a big loss. Obviously, losing a star back in DJ Giddens is a problem. He's such a talented player. Curious to see where he ends up in the NFL draft. Dylan Edwards will be the number one back. Disappointed for him at 350, 6.3, and 3 scores. Also 17 grabs in the backfield. Can he have a decent day here? I think it's possible. A lot of those guys for Rutgers, obviously, you'd like to see them go longer beam. Looks like he's going to play most likely. Same with Shaq Loyal, a safety that's solid for this team, and then Tareem Powell is expected to play potentially. Will be continued to decide. A lot of moving pieces. Loyal for this team has 70 total tackles, second highest tackler, 3 tackles for loss, 7 pass breakups for him. That is, so he's a really good key asset for this secondary unit that's been solid. Logger Beam as well, 38 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss. Daryl Dejabami has been really solid, 102 total tackles, 7 tackles for loss. While Michael Dixon's been good as well, 57 total tackles for this team and 3 pass breakups. Longer Beam has 11 pass breakups, leading the team in that category. Hopefully he gets to go here. That will help out this pass defense. They're solid against the pass at times. They're better against the run. Just a middle of the road Rutgers defense, not your traditional Greg Schiano defense. Definitely disappointing this year compared to their high expectations. Not a lot of takeaways, not a lot of sacks. Definitely been a disappointing unit. The offense has certainly helped out a little bit by playing better football. Will this defense have enough to stay in this game? I think it's possible because this offense is missing a lot for Kansas State, but something you want to keep an eye on: a disappointing defense versus a disappointing offense.
And it looks like Jaden Jackson will be filling in for Keegan Johnson, a veteran. He's been around for 8 years and hasn't did anything, so I wouldn't really expect much. Moving to the final prediction, the team comparisons. Quarterback, I think the edge goes in favor of Avery Johnson. Running back, if Mongai plays, that's an edge for them. If not, it's probably even. I think Edwards is probably the most skilled back in this game, with who's left, of course. Receiver, got to give the edge to Rutgers. I mean, they have a nice trio. It's really been producing well in the trenches. I think Kansas State clears them there. I think they're much better at linebacker as well, and I'll call the secondary even. Neither secondary is exactly great, but I wouldn't exactly call them bad either. I think those are competitive secondaries that can certainly make their presence felt on certain drives. I'm going to go Kansas State, Nick. If Mongai plays, I'll pick Rutgers to cover. If he doesn't, I think they'll just have too much of an issue trying to find a balanced approach on offense. And I think Calicomanus in the passing attack, they've been good this year, but I think they need some complementary weapons on the ground to help them out. You're going to take the Rutgers in an upset in a high-scoring game, and I could totally see that. I could see this passing attack coming out against the secondary, kind of dragging their feet. That indeed will be missing Jacob Parrish. I didn't mention that earlier. He opted out, starting corner there. So I think it's possible Rutgers can come out here and light it up. But I'll stick with Kansas State to be just the more complete, better football team.
I'm going to take Rutgers here. I think this is a team that's really good. I'm going to operate on the assumption that Monagai is going to play. Obviously, doesn't play. That will certainly change things. But I like the setup here. Playing in the baseball stadium in Arizona. The stadium looks good. The field was just finished today. Looks gorgeous. Saw it on social media. I think it looks really solid. I like what this Rutgers game can do on the ground. I think the wide receiving trio is solid as well. Kalkamakis is playing good football. I think this will be a high-scoring affair. I don't think both defenses are great. I think it'll be a punch-for-punch, over and over again scoring opportunity. I do think the Kansas State offense is a bit weaker than you were hoping for this year, but I think they'll be able to get some points in this matchup. I just feel like Rutgers has a chance here. I don't have a lot of confidence points on this. It's definitely lower for me, but I think this is a matchup where you could see an upset from Rutgers. They're about 7-point underdogs. I like to think they could at least cover if they don't win this game outright. A fun matchup going on down there in Arizona. I'll take the Scarlet Knights here, though.
It's going to be it for this episode. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.